got one of the Spanish teams. They look like they fancy the left-hand end of the line. The nice thing about the pin end on a 49er start is that you can so-called put your bow down, which means release the main sheet, release the jib a little bit, sail really hard into the sails and go fast and leave people behind you who are higher up the start line. So it's a nice position, but it's also a hard-fought position, this end of the start line.
It's coming up to about 48 to go. Marcus, at this point of the pre-start, what are you trying to achieve?
Well, you're trying to get a leeward gap because you don't want to have a boat to leeward too close. So you're battling for that gap, but you don't want to make that gap too big because then someone can slip in there in the last second. So that's the main job that you're after. You're trying to protect that leeward gap.
How do you fancy that Spanish boat there? Do you think they can hang on?
I don't think they're going to make it. It's the Telchea brothers, by the way. I can see that from the tracking, and it looked like they were way too close to that pin end, but let's see. We're live on the water. We can check it out. Oh, they're awfully close. Can they make it?
Well, they were well covered by some of the other boats as they crossed the line. The Portuguese boat looked well poked out. I wonder if we're going to see some recalls in this. Yes, the Portuguese already decided they were over. They've gone back to restart, so an expensive start for the Portuguese. There'll probably be a couple of other casualties coming back.
Yes, you could see that there, Andy, in the lead up to that, with 10 seconds to go. Portugal a long way bow forward and dangerous position to get identified.
Absolutely. So they've done the safe thing. They've turned back. And the nice thing is if you do it soon enough and you cross back behind the fleet on port tack, you can get a bit of good air off all the other sails going out on the opposite tack behind them. So all is not necessarily lost for the Portuguese, but it's not the start they were looking for. Whereas it looks like on the Spanish Telechea and Telechea brothers did get a good start out to the left-hand side.
Look at the boats tacking there to just take advantage of that little dark shadow going over. That's more wind.
That's the boat going towards the right-hand side. The boat that is most right at the moment is Heil and Plösel.
Do you think we ought to introduce our friend Philip and mention Philip and ask Philip to show us the tracking?
Yeah, Philip is the guy who runs all these images for us, and Philip, yeah, thanks for showing us the tracking. So it's at the moment this bunch of boats in the middle, which are looking good. Way too early to call. The upwind's just 2 minutes old, 3 minutes old. But the boats in the middle left here, they seem to be doing well right now. Now they're getting a left shift. You can see how the wind is bent. Very typical picture for these shifty conditions. You can see that their tracks are almost spaghetti. They're really tangling up.
And Marcus, immediately that left shift comes in, you see the waltz starts and they tack over onto port and taking advantage of that winding left shift.
And there's a boat on the right-hand side which is really doing well. That's Schmidt-Böhme from Germany. They're going really high, and it does look like they're going quite fast as well. Let me check their speed. So they're currently doing 9.3 knots.
And they're not fully stretched out there. We can see that we got 2 people on trapeze on all the boats, but they're not absolutely fully stretched. So it's not as windy as it's been earlier on today, but still looking very shifty and very puffy, as we can see from this overhead shot. And there on the right of screen is one of the boats leading up the front. That could well be Schmidt and Böhme we're looking at coming towards us.
Let's look at the 3D graphics, and we can see Schmidt and Böhme having quite a nice lead on that right-hand side. And also from top view, I can see that they're going a good angle compared to the boats on the left. We also see Morris and Rhodes now tacking because of that left-hand shift they're getting. They're closing in onto Schmidt-Böhme. Schmidt-Böhme seems to slow down a little bit there in the middle. But it's all up and down, and it's super patchy.
It's a good start by the German team, Schmidt-Böhme. And we can see Morrison coming across, just trying to find a lane.
We're going to see a very, very intense windward mark rounding, and I think we're going to look out the window ourselves and make some guesses which side we would choose.
Now here's a boat that should know where they're going. This is the local boat sailed by Jonas Warra and Peter Lang. Jonas Warra won the Olympic gold medal in 2008 in a variety of conditions, but mostly in light airs in China. That was when the 49er had a smaller rig. It's got a more powerful rig now, but combined with his experience and knowledge of Aarhus, we should expect to see Jonas Werra do very well this week. And he's lying already, I think, in the top three, fourth overall at the moment in the standings.
And he's on the left side of the course at the moment. That, for my feeling, was a little bit too covered in the morning when the girls were sailing there. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to come out of that corner. At the moment, he's not going too high and not too fast.
It's very patchy and gusty there. At times they're at full stretch. You can see the boats going out right a picture. There's Jonas Werra again. He's doing a lot of tacking here. That suggests maybe he's not particularly finding what he wants on this left-hand side of the course. Looks like he's got a lot of traffic ahead of him there.
He's in currently 8th position, converging back to the middle of the course.
And
but he's certainly
someone's capsized in the middle of the course. That was the Polish boat.
That's another mark of these very, very gusty conditions.
Who's the Polish boat sailed by, Peter?
Golly, this will be a challenge for me. I'm just trying to pick up the name.
Yeah, it's Lucas somebody, isn't it? Is Lucas?
Prismatek.
Oh, very good. Very good, Peter.
There's
well
that.
done.
Good.
All right.
Let's keep our eyes on Jonas Werra working the left side of the course. He's now luffing up dramatically on the left side of the course. Fairly good breeze. Climbing up to 2nd place at the moment. So he does work the left side really well.
We're into race 3 for the 49er Gold Fleet. They had 2 races yesterday. This is the 3rd race. The intention of the race management today, Marcus, is to try and get 4 races off, and then there'll be another cut in the field. Yeah,
tomorrow the fleet will be cut down from 32 boats to 16. So that's what's at stake today. This fleet is really battling to continue into the next round, and only 16 boats can make it.
So on the left-hand side of the screen, we see the Austrian boat sailed by Nico Delacarth. This boat won Kiel Week just a week ago. So they're a team on form at the moment. They've come 2nd in the World Championships in the past. And on the right-hand side, Germany 55, that's Schmidt and Boomer, who were leading earlier and still very much in contention as they come into the top mark. Although the boats coming in from the other side of the course that we don't see in picture are also doing very, very well.
There's a British boat, GBR, just right at the left-hand marker, boy. We're not in vision, so...
That's Peters and Fitzgerald.
The leading boat is already round the mark as we look at the Australians coming in there. Just so bow forward on the German boat.
Looking out the studio onto that playing field out there, which side would you favor, guys?
I keep liking out to sea, get away from the shadowing effect of the wall here.
But I actually like the looks of Peter Fitzgerald there. He's
well, we
going down
we can't see him in picture at the moment, but we can see boats going around the other side of the course. We're hearing local cheering for Jonas Werra as he goes round very nicely, but we're looking at the boats going round the other side of the course, and they're sailing off into not very much wind. And
it's pretty soft, actually. When you look at looking at the right-hand mark, we now see the gate. It looks soft up at the right-hand mark, and for one of the first times, this left-hand mark looks to have a bit more pressure as they exit.
Left hand at the bottom of the screen, and yes, I agree with you, Peter. I think the boats coming round in front of picture as we're looking at it are the ones that are tending to get the best of the breeze in the early phases of this first run of this race.
But when I look further away as we head down the downwind, it just looks to be a little more solid looking out further off the land. But it's pretty congested.
It's very, very busy.
To the first mark. This is race 3 of the finals for the 49ers.
You would think that 2 windward marks would help reduce congestion, but it still looks like a lot of traffic to me, especially in this near picture.
You have to remember, though, it's an unusually big fleet. Normally, the gold fleets are 25 boats. Today, it's 32, so it's a much bigger fleet than we normally have. And also, it's very close to the shore, so it does get more congested in these conditions.
Perhaps, Andy, if you can just give us a rundown. I see you've got a graphic there with the top 10. If you give us top 5, maybe, at that at the first mark.
And look at that lead. Look at that lead for James Peters and Ed Fitzgerald. Very young team. They're actually at university. They've not done much sailing in the last few months because they've been doing their studies. They were at Kiel Week, finding their feet in the boat again. But they certainly found their feet, and they are leading this race with the French team, Fry and Rocheria, in second, changing places very quickly.
These two boats were battling it out at the Europeans last year, by the way. The French boat winning in the end, but James Peters had a very impressive performance at the Europeans
championships
in Lake Garda. Danish boat back in second place. It's a really close bunch. We should focus on these boats in second, third, and fourth position to see how they're battling it out.
A lot of place changing there, but look at that lead. Look at that lead for the Brits as they come down to that bottom mark.
Well, he's absolutely launched. He got clean, he nice top mark approach, and as Marcus pointed out, leaving the top mark, they actually got a nice wee squirt along the wall here. Then they've centraled up to the centre of the course. They've extended their lead heading into Mark 2.
GBR 999, I see they've selected their sail number as the emergency call number in Great Britain when you want to call the police service or the ambulance or the fire service, but they don't need any rescuing at the moment. Well, they're doing absolutely beautifully here.
Coming into the bottom mark, it's Peters in the lead from GBR. They led at Mark 1. They have extended on the downwind. Now it's a matter of consolidating. The rich are getting richer here, I feel.
When you get a lead like that, it's hard to imagine you could give it up, but on a day like today, it could happen. They could fall into a hole, but they've had lots of time to look around. They had a pick of which mark they wanted to go round, and they've gone out to sea. We haven't seen so much of that with the girls. They were tending to choose the other mark.
We should explain, in the image at the moment is the leeward gate in the background, and the starting vessel, that doesn't matter at the moment. We can only see the left-hand gate mark now in the background, and they have to dive through that gate and either go left and right. And James Peters, with a gigantic lead at the moment, went around the left-hand gate mark that looks very much favored from the tracking.
And who are we looking at there? Is it an Austrian boat on the right-hand side, a German boat just jibed on the left-hand side?
That is Schmidt-Böhme.
Okay.
And now back in a gust.
Just on the other, just going out of picture, on that far side, on the right-hand side, we see Jonas Warrer, the Danish sail, looking like he might be coming in second or third place at the bottom mark. And the Kiwis just gone out of picture in second or third as well. Peter Burling and Blair Chuk, who won the silver medal at the Olympics last year. You can see the number 2 on their sail. That's because they were second in the world in the last World Championship. So the sail number's a little bit confusing because we have the top 10. I think Marcus wants to jump in. No.
Yeah, top 10, it relates to your ranking, correct? And then after that, you pick
your
your
number.
number. So if you're seeing the one-digit numbers, it means certainly they have a high ranking. As we look there,
Germany 7 is
7.
One of those boats. Who would Germany 7 be? That'd be Eric Heil, Thomas Plössl. Certainly the form team in Germany right now. Would you agree, Marcus?
Yeah, definitely. They've won the World Cup in Palma this year and had some good results at other World Cups as well. Interesting looking at the 3D graphics right here. It's a gigantic lead by Peters and Fitzgerald. It's actually 400-meter lead. No, not quite, but it is a big lead. And Jonas Vara attacking a little bit onto. No, actually, the courses are converging. James Peters and Jonas Vara.
It was very even between the Danish and the New Zealanders as they came out of that bottom mark. It was a toss-up as to who was second, who was third. But it looks like Jonas Vara and Peter Lang on the Danish boat have actually moved ahead of the Kiwis. And now it's suggesting that the Portuguese boat is now up into third place.
Well, I think they've taken advantage of a right-hand shift, but then I look ahead on the graphic and you see that Peters was in a left-hand rotation. So the wind is moving around 20 degrees, maybe a bit more with pressure and low. The dark spots, of course, is more wind speed.
So very hard to defend on this kind of day, but I wonder, is 300 or 400 meters sufficient for the British James Peters and Ed Fitzgerald to hold on to that lead. There they tack, GBR 999, very nice tack, getting back into the middle of the course, protecting their lead, and doing so in a nice bit of breeze. So they're picking their moments very well to get back across, and it looks to me like they've got more breeze than the boat top of picture going out behind them.
They've certainly sailed on phase. I thought Marcus picked it perfectly. Top mark, the English pair came round this the marker closer to the shore, and they actually got a nice run, didn't they? Right down the seawall here, which has been a little bit unusual, but they were in pressure, and for me, that's where they jumped out for that big lead.
It did look like that gust carried them down all the way to the leeward gate, where the others got stuck in a hull at some point in a lull, of course. What he's doing now is interesting. He's covering the Danish boat, and he's doing it by the book, sort of. And I wonder if that could cost him. Now he's tacking because the Danish boat, we don't have him in the picture at the moment, has tacked. I can see that on the tracking. So it's really staying between him and the next mark. And
he looks soft there, doesn't he?
He does look very soft, and it could be costly if he is just playing it by the book there and not going where the next breeze is coming. We can see in the background how dramatic the breeze differences actually are. It's the water looks like a leopard skin. Very pronounced differences in breeze.
And because these boats are so high performance, Marcus, the impact on that in terms of how quickly they get into the top mark can be huge. I mean, a boat that's behind can be going double the speed. Look at this. The leading boat now. No, it's not. It's a GBR boat.
Well, no, it is. That is the leading boat, but it may not be leading for long if it sits in no wind like this. Yeah, it doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, it does look like they're really trying to cover the second place boat, and they are far away. So this tactic is acceptable, and they're getting a gust now. We can see that from the studio.
So it's Peters heading up. They're back in pressure. They're back on the trapeze, Andy.
And they are, and actually behind them there's not much breeze. They've sailed through that bad patch of breeze, and the others look like they're going to have to take it as well. They're going to have to take the hard medicine as well. So while they may have given away a bit of distance for a short while, they've broken through the doldrums. The others have still got to sail through those doldrums.
You can see that their lead is so big here. There's no one else even in shot.
I can give you the figures. It's actually a 195-meter lead, so it hasn't shrunken. It's extended a little bit, and yeah, it does look like they're safe now, and they're playing it very safe. And looking at the racetrack in front of them, it's not that uneven. There's a slight bit of breeze coming towards them, but it's not as bad as it was before. So I'd say they're quite safe. They're going deep now. Not a good angle. Wouldn't be surprised if they tack back soon, but a little bit of breeze on that left-hand side where they're heading off to now, but going very deep.
I wonder if we can have a look at our 3D graphics and get a sense of how we're doing with the fleet and get a sense of Peters and Fitzgerald's lead there. So they're actually sailing away on starboard tack, away from the boats coming up behind them.
Yeah, they're going not a good angle towards the windward gate that we see on top of the screen at the moment, but I guess they're going there because it looked like there was more breeze.
But you can see the change in the tracking line. So Peters and Fitzgerald paid a little bit to get into a position that you can only assume there was a little bit of pressure on the water that they could see. And I have a quick glance out the window, and there's good pressure between them and the top mark.
Two young lads still in their teens leading a massively talented international fleet with Olympic gold medalists and medals of various colours behind them, but they're showing them a clean pair of heels as they are about to round the top gate for the second time. This time they're choosing the right-hand mark. They're bearing away, going to get that kite up. Are they going to do a jibe set? So again, yeah, we see them choose the mark, but go straight for a jibe set. So it must be because they fancy that's the middle of the best gust that they have available to them. And they're off. Very, very nice. Not super windy, but that's about the best that anybody's got at this end of the course. We'll see other boats coming into picture fairly shortly.
This is a massive lead. Massive lead, and I put it down to that first downwind where they really did a beautiful exit of the top mark.
That's the second place boat they've just gone past, going the opposite way. Yeah, there's the Olympic gold medalist.
So it is the same tactic for the leading boat. They again running down next to the seawall as Warra now attacks. Oh, that's a quiet one for Warra. We'll just look. Where are the next boats coming? I'm sure they're going to come under attack here.
Here comes the silver medalist from London, from the London Olympics, I believe, and he's closing in with a lot of speed from the left side. Speed's back up on Jonas Vara now. Who's going to round first?
Warra is into the zone of the top mark.
Is he going to be able to tack where he wants to, or is the Kiwi just coming into picture going to be able to hold him?
Oh,
no.
whoa.
Well, of course,
brutal move.
the New Zealanders needed to take evasive action there. If you stick your nose inside that zone.
Guys, what did you think rule-wise? That was an awfully close tack, wasn't it?
It was. I think the Danes were chancing their arm a little bit. We'll have to see if the Kiwis decide to protest that or not. But they're going different ways down the track, so even if they wanted to shout protest, they're pretty far apart already.
I really like the way Jonas Vara is going. They've got the breezes up where they are, and Peter Burling is going a terrible angle.
He looks
out
lifted.
Towards the left side.
The New Zealanders look lifted. They and of course the contra to that is the boats on the other jibe will be headed.
So these boats, there's the leader. There's the leader looking in very good breeze. So you can only imagine that they're going to extend down towards the finish.
It's just so dramatic, Andy, how big effect pressure has on terms of the angle that you can sail. I mean, the angle changes when you look at the image. It's huge between being in pressure, not in pressure, wind shift.
Yes, so picking out the dark water and getting your boat into that dark water where the gusts are, that's what's critical on a day like today. It's critical on most days, but we're just seeing it much more pronounced here, right off the shore of Aarhus.
Well, when we exited the top mark, it was Warra who looked good, and Burling went away on a shocking angle, very high. But now Burling has gone out into the middle of the bay and picked up a big wind shift with pressure. It's just so difficult to roll the dice. You might have to pay a little bit of medicine, but further on.
And Peter, there's an example of what you're talking about, different angles, different pressure. The boat on the right-hand side in very little wind going very high and very slow. In the middle of the picture and left of picture, you see the red Jenicas going very nicely. That's Jonas Warra on the left of picture. You can see the white weight coming out the back of his boat. He must be loving that breeze that he's in right now, and you can see that he's heading into a darker gust, and he's going to have even more breeze as he jibes there.
Well, it'll be interesting to see when Warra, the measure will be Warra against Burling, because they came around the top mark together and it looked all Warra. But again, I think Burling got out into the middle of the bay, and I suspect he's going to come back in pressure.
Yes,
right down the track.
Hopefully we'll see him fairly soon. He's left out of our screen at the moment, but we should see them cross at some point as they converge towards the bottom of the course. And they've each gambled on a side. Let's see who works out to be the best. But there are the guys just about. No,
bottom mark.
No, it's bottom mark again.
Bottom mark.
One more lap.
That's the race leader. So
and
he's clear.
Still very comfortable.
He's very clear. The race, really, the talking point will be the next three boats. So we've got Burling, you've got Warra, and you've got Lima.
It does look like...
There's Burling.
There's
Black
Burling
kite
coming
flying
in
along. It looks like he's overcooked it. Looks like he's got a bit of work to do, or Blair at the front of the boat's got some work to do to get that kite down. But a price worth paying, because, look, they're coming out ahead of those red Jenicas. So it was bad for Burling early on as he did that jibe set out of the top mark, but it's paid handsomely at the bottom of the course.
I just wonder, in terms of the philosophy, whether we're not seeing a pattern, a coaching pattern, really. You pay a little bit at the top of the course to get out in the bay, get away from the land effect, because we saw a similar philosophy, I thought, with the girls this morning, with Maloney. She was also, if she could, punching to the outside bay. It would indicate to me their coaches have actually probably come up with a strategy for the downwind, for my eye.
It's a bit like you're investing, where you've had good investment tips on the stock market, and you haven't taken them, Peter, and you've seen the
story of my life, Andy.
Yeah. You've got to invest to accumulate, and that's what we've seen the Kiwis do.
So we're on the third windward beat. It is the second race of the day for the 49ers, Gold Fleet. Marcus,
We've lost the tracking on the leading boat, but he's so far away that I don't think he's going to be caught anyway. So let's focus a little bit on the battle between second and third, and that's between Peter Burling and Jonas Vara. I'm very impressed with the move Peter Burling made at the windward mark, because initially it didn't look good at all at the windward mark, but they really pulled it off on the second half of the downwind, and they're nicely defending.
Looked like they got on the elevator, didn't they? They got on it. As you discussed earlier, if you can get into a puff, you can ride the puff from the top of the course to the bottom of the course, and it looks like maybe that's what Burling was able to do.
But he had to go up the a little up escalator, before he got on the faster down escalator. That was the thing. It was quite a risk, and I wonder if it was luck or judgment. Seeing as he's come second in the world twice, got a silver medal in the last Olympics, one could assume that that's what he wanted, and there was a little bit more than luck involved in selecting that side of the course.
I mean, you have to say that if there's a gold medalist in second position and a silver medalist in third position, it can't be all up to luck, right?
Well, there we saw two medalists choose different side of the course, and it was the silver medalist that came out ahead of the gold medalist down that particular run. So it was the local boys, actually, who came off worse down that run. Local knowledge not helping out Wara and Lang on that particular occasion.
So dealing with skiff sailing, and it's probably good for Marcus again, how much is it in terms of the concentration is dealing with the now?
Oh, well, in any sport, you're dealing with it now. If you're complaining about what has just happened, or if you're too obsessed about what could happen, you're not performing well. So you got to be super present, especially with these boats, which are inherently unstable. They capsize when you push them into the water. So you always have to be on your toes to keep them upright, and then you have to do all these other things. You got to plot a strategy. You have to look around, look for the wind. So many things you need to do. You can only do that if you're absolutely present.
That was Jonas Wara just in picture. I think that will be the, well, I was going to say the Kiwis, but now we're looking at the leaders. We're looking at the leaders on GBR 999, sailed by Peters and Fitzgerald, the young guys who are having one of the best races of their career so far. Nicely stretched, good breeze for them. Just crouching a little bit. It's up and down.
Quite a long race with a 3-lap course, maybe a little bit too long for what the target time really is.
Andy, tell us a little bit about James Peters. I see here third at the 2012 Worlds, so he's certainly used to being at the front of the pack. What is his background? Where does he come from in terms of GBR sailing?
Well, his dad is one of the founding members of RS Sailing, which has been a very successful boat building brand and boat marketing brand in the UK. This isn't one of their boats, the 49er, but they make something similar called the RS 800. So he's from a sailing family, and also his older sister is here. We were talking about her earlier. Frances Peters was racing in the 49er FX, and we saw her getting some very good scores. I think I'm right in saying that James Peters won the ISAF Youth Worlds, but I need to check that. I know that his sister did in the 29er in Aarhus about 4 or 5 years ago. But he moved very quickly out of the 29er and out of youth classes into the 49er. I think he was just age 16 when he moved into the 49er, which some might say was too early. But when you look at them tacking like that and having the race of their lives out in front of all these medalists, maybe it was a good move to get into the fleet this early on in their careers.
Now, Marcus, you just acknowledged a lovely tack there. What are you looking for?
Very nice tack, and they're nicely covering the rest of the fleet, staying safely above their gravitation point, doing a really good job.
Another
there.
tack. A lot of tacks going on here.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an unusual number of tacks that we're seeing, isn't it?
You have to be ready to do a lot of tacks. We'll look at the figures in a second, and because the analytics count the tacks by themselves, and we can compare how mobile boats really are.
We're just commenting on that lovely tacking technique and skill of the leading boat.
And here is a replay of that tack that we just discussed. So they decide to go with the rest of the fleet. They need to move. They need to cross. They unhook, come in, synchronized, jump back out, absolutely synchronous movements, push the bow through the wind and back out. Slight bit of windward heel there, not a big problem. Beautiful tack.
Certainly having, it looks to me, Marcus, you've got to have good balance and very good coordination.
Absolutely. So here we have the boat closing into the windward mark. This time around, he doesn't take the left mark. He actually goes, he doesn't take the right mark. He actually goes for the left one. That's the bottom one, and goes for a straight set, I assume.
But that has been his favourite mark, though, Marcus. This has been his typical choice.
Well, last time around, he went around the other one and did a jibe set. Now he's doing a straight set around that mark. And it looks like there's nice breeze in front of him. It looks like there's currently some gusts pushing down that covered side on the right-hand side. They got to be careful, though, not to go too far into that breeze.
So that camera is looking down from a tower block, and that same tower block would be putting some shelter on this side of the course. So that's probably why he's driving away there, because there's potentially a wind shadow underneath the tower blocks on the edge of the city. So they're going out to sea there, still nicely ahead of the next boat, which has just gone round. That's Peter Burling and Blair Tuke. They've done exactly what they did on the previous round. It served them very well the previous time to do a jibe set, but there they're doing a jibe immediately. So it's all about catching the best of these local gusts, whereas the Danes going straight round just did a straight set. So that was a couple of very quick jibes, but very nicely done by the Kiwis.
Yeah, nice move by Burling. I mean, he puts himself in a safe position below Jonas Vara this way by putting in these two jibes. This way it's much harder to pass for Jonas Vara.
As much as you work the wind shifts and pressure upwind, these guys with the performance and the ability to bend the wind, work the wind shifts and pressure on the downwind as well, Marcus. So it's almost like you're going downwind, but you actually got the mindset of sailing upwind.
Yeah, it's a little bit. You got to watch out for the gusts. That's what makes the big differences, because that bends the wind so much for you. 1 knot more is equivalent to probably a 10 degrees wind shift. And so the good thing is you can see those gusts on the water, and you can plot your path through them better than actually going for the wind shifts.
As a kid, I read an interesting book by Frank Bethwaite, the father of Julian Bethwaite, the man that designed these 49er class. And in one of the chapters talks about windbenders, and that's what Marcus has been telling us about, the ability of these high-performance skiffs to bend the wind and sail with the apparent wind a long way forward, Andy.
Yeah, that's what's so much fun about them, is you don't actually need very much wind to have a great day sailing. Conventional, older forms of sailing boat tend to need more wind to get them moving, and the nice thing about the 49er is as soon as you got a sniff of breeze, you move forwards and you make your own. And look at the lovely fast, the white wake coming out the back of the boat on the right hand side of the picture.
Oh, he's on a beautiful angle. He jumped out of one gust. He's in a bit of a lull now, but as we know, these boats are so fast, he's going to catch up to that gust. He's on the back of the gust, so it will be a bit of a header. He'll run that right through to the finish, Andy.
I wonder if he's actually going to make it through with his Jenniker. He might actually need to drop his Jenniker. That's how big the gust is, and that's how big the shift is. It might be that Ed Fitzgerald will have to jump in off the wire and drop that red Jenniker to make it.
I think he will in a second. I'm surprised he hasn't already. Maybe we're misjudging the depth of this image. Now they can actually pull up. They're luffing up.
But another gust and they would be into that rib, and that would be disastrous to finish the race that way. But it looks like they're going to make it through without dropping. And they've barely put a foot wrong in this
Lovely
race.
lay line.
And here's the battle between Peter Burling and Jonas Vara.
And there's the leader just dropping their kite, and job well done. Absolutely fantastic
get back.
performance.
I think the race is really on, but for second and third between Warra and Burling as we look at the race leader. But the race really, if we can just pull back a little bit, if we get lucky, he really had a beautiful downwind. His last one, he stretched away.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see how many tacks and jibes they were prepared to put in. When you can tack and jibe that well, it doesn't hurt you too much to do so. There is the black kite of the Kiwis, coming in for second place. So they did stay ahead of the gold medalist, the local boy Jonas Vara. So well done to the Kiwis. And they're big lads as well. So I was speaking to one of the British sailors earlier, just asking about the Kiwis, who are one of the biggest teams here. And not only does it pay to be heavy going upwind, but it pays to be heavy going downwind. And you can see how stretched everyone is as they're going downwind. It's maximum power, even when you're going downwind. So so being big on a day like today is not a bad thing.
Speaking of stretched, the fleet has stretched out dramatically. We still see boats going around the windward mark. I think a 3-lapper course is a bit too long. I think the race officer put it in because it's 32 boats on this small course, but 2 laps would have done easily. The fleet has stretched out dramatically. The rich are getting richer. As you said before, the leading boats pull away. So until now, only 3 boats have finished. And in fourth position, we've got the Portuguese boat has not finished yet, and in fourth it's Nørregaard and Thompson. That's Alan Nørregaard. That's the silver medalist, the bronze medalist from the London Olympics. He's currently in fourth or fifth position.
And it's amazing that there are still boats yet to go round the windward mark. I mean, it's the gaps in this race, Marcus, are just immense.
Yeah.
It's a huge spread. I sort of lost track, actually, of the body of the fleet, but looking out my window, most of them are just around the top mark. I think it's not so much the difference in performance. I think the leading boats actually got into a different phase of the wind with pressure and direction.
And going around the top mark, we can't see them in picture, but it's the Australian boats currently in 6th overall, Will Phillips. And to think that we stopped talking about the winners of this race some minutes ago, and one of the leading contenders has only just gone round the top mark. That's how different it is. Looking at the picture there, you can see how soft it is, and the winners of this race just didn't have to put up with this. They were fully stretched. Here we're looking at boats where it's just the skipper on the trapeze and the crew sitting in the boat, so much slower speeds because the wind has really dropped out. So dig out the old cliche again, Peter, the rich got richer, didn't they?
They certainly did, and it was Peters that took it out from Burling. Warra was third. As we look now down at the bottom, post-match debrief. Be a pretty happy team for James Peters. See their coach alongside. Do you know who their coach is, Andy, by any chance?
It will be one of two. They've got two out here, so it's either ex-49er sailors, either Ian Martin or Simon Hiscox. Hiscox having won 2 medals himself in the 49er at the Olympics. Marcus, how's that leaving these young Brits here in picture on the overall standings?
I was just looking at the overall standings and the live analytics, and we have James Peters. After this race win, he is in 10th position. He certainly climbed up the ranks by that through that race, but still in the lead, tied on points with second place is Dylan Fletcher and his helmsman Sign, and in second place is Jonas Warra and Peter Lang, tied on 50 points for the lead, but we've got 3 more races to go. The focus today of this fleet is to make it into the top 16, because that's the boats that gonna battle it out for the theater style finals on Sunday. Tomorrow there'll only 16 boats will sail this course. It will get more intense. The course will get smaller, but we've got 3 more races to go with this large 32 boat fleet. I'm almost certain in the next race to come we will see a shorter race, probably only 2 laps. I think it was a very good race, a very fair race despite the difficult conditions. We saw the top performers coming out on top. That's always a good sign. And
so when you say that, you say they're going to shorten the track up. Will they do that, Marcus, by shortening the windward beat or take a lap out?
I think they almost certainly will take a lap out. That was too much. I don't know how long this race actually was. I can check in the analytics. It was a 20-minute race. That wouldn't be too long, but no, sorry.
It felt more than that.
No, it was more than that. It was actually, yeah, it was a 40 minute
so it's a
race.
little bit too long.
That is too long.
So there they are. There's the back markers finishing now, and I'd be interested to know what the gap between the winner and the last boat was, but we must be talking nearly 10 minutes.
I can't tell you right now. I can dig it out later.
Okay, okay.
But that's an interesting point, isn't it? When we're talking a 35-minute race, and the spread between first and not even last, first to the sort of the body of the fleet could have been, it's a substantial amount.
When you think the boats are probably averaging about, say, 10 knots around the race, maybe 8 knots around the race course, but the back markers are finishing more than a mile behind the leaders. That's a huge spread.
It's the race committee, the team that are empowered to run a fair regatta. I've been impressed by the race management, actually. I think they've it's a pretty difficult place. It's pretty tricky.
Well, the good thing is that the 49er class tends to bring its own race officers around the world with them, so that creates continuity. It creates a dialogue and an understanding between the sailors and their race management, and that's what the sailors like. They like knowing who is managing their racing and being able to have an ongoing conversation throughout the year, from season to season, with a level of continuity. Marcus,
that's the first time we've seen the Gold Fleet. Your impressions?
Yeah, I think it's a very solid fleet. I mean, the performance in front, the maneuvers we saw, the clarity of the strategy that people have been using, I'm very impressed with, and it's going to be very exciting races for the next 2 days to come.
Andy, in terms of the conditions, I mean, it's been up and down a wee bit, but you cannot fault the quality.
No, absolutely. I mean, what's nice about watching these sailors in these conditions is the amount of manoeuvring that they're doing. The amount of tacks and jibes. We saw that wonderful double jibe out of this top mark that we're just next to here by the Kiwis, and that was a nice defensive move by the Kiwis against the Danes that were close up behind them. Just a double jibe like that, just done so smoothly with no loss of speed.
Yeah, he avoided that ugly situation where a boat follows you and suddenly goes deep, which often happens in these gusty conditions. And I remember once talking to a British sailor, asking him, well, what do you do in that situation? And he says, I panic. so Peter Burling, just by doing that double jibe, he avoided that situation, because in that with that sort of geometry, if he puts himself between the opponent and the gate, he's much safer.
Yeah,
for someone so young, a great racecraft presence, isn't it?
Absolutely.
He just seems to get it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's a rising star in New Zealand.
Oh, he's already a star. I mean, a silver medal, and he's been to 2 Olympics, and I think he might, what is he, 23, 24?
Just 22, I think he is.
He's a talent, and I'm sure he'll be a talent looking ahead for New Zealand in the America's Cup, but that's another topic. We have completed the first race for the 49ers, and we've got 3 more races coming up, I hope. Brilliant conditions. Great companionship here with my fellow commentators. They keep jumping on my foot. But we're going to take a wee bit of a break. We're going to come back to you shortly for more brilliant racing from Denmark.